Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Annie Bond, and I'm the author of the new book, Awakening Prana, and it's 9 steps to regenerative self transformation. And I've written a number of books, but I'm particularly excited about this book on spiritual growth and the energy body. And tonight's show is about the step 5 that we talk about in the book, which I write about in the book. And this is all about how important it is for us to release energy. And what it's I always have an interesting anecdote for myself about the importance or the power of being able to release energy. And I was on an airplane 20 years ago or so with a young guy, LA to Denver, if I remember. And we were talking and chatting, and he just listed off trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma that he had been through. And I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, if all of those things had happened to me, I would have been on a stretcher in the ER most of the time. And he, alternatively, was just absolutely this radiant looking person. And I thought about that a lot, and over the years, and I think that the only thing that I can really pinpoint how he could be so radiant is that he was always able to take sort of the high road in his thinking and be in a positive state of mind, and also that he felt a lot of self-love. And I'll come back to self-love in a minute, but there's a law of vibration that discusses about how if you have a low dense energy that is carries a lot of dross and sort of misery, that it'll always be second fiddle to high vibration energy. But the high vibration energy has to stay around long enough to actually to dissipate that lower vibration energy. So this guy was able to stay in this high vibration long enough that his suffering didn't hold. He didn't go down in his thinking to the level of the suffering. He took a high road about it. And having positive thinking is actually remarkably beneficial to how much we store of low vibration density in our energy body. So that's one way of thinking about, the if something bad happens to you, do you look at it as your cup half full or is it half empty? And so positive thinking really makes a difference. Another thing to think about in terms of how we manage negative thoughts or experiences is to think of a grounding rod. And deep in the earth, the reason they're grounding rods is that they will take like lightning and it goes into the rod and then goes into the earth. And so if we're super grounded, then as things come at us in our lives, it can go down through us and get grounded into the earth. And we all know ungrounded people, and I myself have been ungrounded a lot in my life. And we tend to be sort of very twittery like this. And if you think instead of being super grounded, a tree with deep roots, energy going down, then it's another way for you to release energy into the earth. Another way that sort of a third way to release energy is sort of along the lines of the guy that had positive thoughts, but it's connecting to your higher self and asking your higher self to bring you healing around issues that are you're hamster wheeling about or are upset about, and ask for insight about them. And so you have this relationship that you're building with your higher self, which is the step 2 in the 9 steps of Awakening Prana. And you by building that relationship, you come into much more of a love-based operating system, a much more wisdom-based operating system than your sort of ego-based operating system that may bring you into the kind of thoughts that build up density like greed, or like, oh my God, I've got to get back at that person, or I'm so mad I don't even know what to do. If that's all, is holding on to this negative energy. So, having a relationship with your higher self and taking that high road becomes really important in terms of releasing energy. And then the fourth sort of approach that I think goes back to the story of the guy who was on the plane with me, is that I just know he felt self-love. He must have been lucky at a very young age to have been imbued with self-love from his parents or something, but self-love is a profound healer and a profound a helper to help your energy body move and release things that just don't serve you. And I think that's the real goal for us, is to not dwell on things that don't serve us, stay on the high ground, and feel as much love as we can, self-love as we can. So here's a meditation for us that will be about to help us a sound healing, and there's a guided meditation from me that will help us to release energy. And it's a beautiful. It's on SoundCloud. It's on you. This will be on YouTube. You can listen to it anytime. It's already on YouTube actually, and to anytime you're feeling like you really could use some releasing. And we send love and gratitude to the heart of the earth. And we ask Mother Earth to send her beautiful energy up to our Earth Star chakra, about 8 inches below the ground. And from our Earth Star chakra, that energy comes up along our central axis, and the energy goes where it needs to go. And we ask the sacred elements, earth and fire, water, air, and ether, to help us connect to Mother Earth. And we send love and gratitude to Father Sun. And we ask Father Sun to send his beautiful energy down to our soul star chakra, about 8 inches over our head. And from our soul star chakra, that beautiful Father Sun energy comes down along our central axis, and the energy goes where it needs to go. And we ask the Supreme Being to vacuum out all that we can release and take it to the sun to be purified. I ask the Supreme Being to vacuum out all that I can release and take it to the sun to be purified. I ask the sacred element earth to magnetize down all that we can release. I ask the sacred element earth to magnetize down all that I can release. And we ask the sacred element water to wash away that which we can release. I ask the sacred element water to wash away all that I can release. And we ask the sacred element fire to illuminate and burn away that which we can release. I ask the sacred element fire to illuminate and burn away that which I can release. And we ask the sacred element air to dislodge and blow away that which we can release. I ask the sacred element air to dislodge and blow away that which I can release. And we ask the sacred element ether to remove that which we can release. I ask the sacred element ether to remove that which I can release. And we ask the sacred element ether to bathe us in eternal love. I ask the sacred element ether to bathe me in eternal love. Thy will be done. Aho mitaquiescen. What sort of went unspoken in my introduction to releasing is that if you don't release, this old low vibration energy gloms on to us, and this brings dis-ease, right? It brings illness, it brings mental health issues, it brings lack of flow to your energy body. And so for good health and well-being, you really need to release energy as well. How does that feel I love those balloons. I mean, letting go, the lanterns, that looked great. Who would like to share about how that felt for them? Carol, looks like you're ready to go.
Sure. It came, as these things always do, it came at the perfect time
Oh,
for
good.
me because of all the stress, and just sitting back and allowing it to flow and to be was magical. It was
Mm.
lovely. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you picked up about the allowing it to be and let things flow, because and not, hanging on to these things, because I think that's the real teacher. It's to be sort of allow us to be in the current of things coming and going, and that's a good. I'm glad you picked up on that. That's
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Well, the monkey mind is always there, and it's just saying, okay, this is fine. Thank you. I hear you now.
Right. I'm not going to worry about that anymore. Why should I?
Yeah.
So, yeah, good. Wonderful. Who else? Yeah, Diane.
Um, for me, when Father Son was sending the energy down, I felt it go right into my gut.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, fire in my gut. What a surprise.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So those that don't know, Diane had quite a experience. Well, maybe you say what happened in Sedona, what came up there in our Sedona retreat.
Yeah, I got the realization that fire was it's a no-brainer. I was in a fire, or at least my apartment was, and I escaped. So it was a real trigger for me. And then you checked it, and I was like unbelievably depleted of fire, which I've always had, like IBS and digestive issues in it. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So not a surprise that what happened today, but that was very interesting.
Yeah, so that was Father Son bringing in fire. That was great that you're still needing it, and that happened. So
Absolutely. So thank you so much. That was wonderful.
good. That's great.
Although I
Hey.
feel a lot clearer and more grounded and
Oh, yeah.
connected to my body. It was a perfect decompression after work. I
Mm.
found myself wondering, why don't I release when I get home from work every day? Because it's so important as I make that transition from work to coming home, and my mind is still busy, and I'm still in that go 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 mood from work, and this allowed me to just let go, release, clear, and be in a better space. Yes, I feel good right now, nice and clear.
That is a great idea, about work, and you could even just put the sound healing on while you're making dinner or something after you get home.
Yeah,
Release
yeah.
sound healing. Yeah, that's actually what gave me an idea. My daughter has a new baby, and she works upstairs and goes downstairs after work, and there's no transition whatsoever. And you just gave me such a clue to do it for her. I suggest you do some sort of a release it all, before she goes downstairs. So
Yeah, it's the perfect time, and I don't know why I'd never done it before. I always release at night before I go to bed. I make sure I release,
oh,
release.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, I do. It's just like my routine at night now.
Oh, that's inspiring. I'm inspired
Yeah.
by that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I always save it for the end of the night, but I think I need it after work.
That's so inspiring. And I know and I always teach around about healing is that it's crucial that you you release after every healing you give, because despite yourself, you're going to be carrying some of their energy and all of everything that came up in the healing. And it's really important you let it go before you give another healing, particularly because the last thing you want to do is bring other people's energy that came into you and onto them, and that's that sort of thing. So that becomes really important as a part of the routine. So
Well, I'll just say I did some releasing earlier today and still felt more releasing. So, apparently you cannot do it enough. So that was great. I just wanted to make one comment about the whole idea of positive thoughts, especially for anybody out there that maybe is kind of new into some of this. I know when I was new, and I would always hear, don't, stay in the negative, right? Because you're going to attract more and you're going to stay in the muck. And I was like, but there are some things, how do you put a positive spin on it? And I heard somebody say, I don't remember who it was, that sometimes you just say, thank you for showing me the contrast. And so what I found for me is sometimes the best I could do in a situation was to be kind of neutral. And, I'll give a silly example here. Like I live out in the country, but the road I live on is a big cut through road. So there's always loud trucks and, motorcycles and all this noise. It's so much noisier than when I was in town. And I would get so frustrated and so mad. And I'd be like, I hate these trucks and I don't like that. And, and then I always heard the universe or God or source or whatever, your spirit team, whatever you want to say, that they don't hear not. So like all they would hear is me saying, hate or loud trucks or whatever. And, now that I'm farther into it, I don't think it's so much that they can't hear. I think it's frequency based. And I think the word not must not have as big a frequency as loud trucks or hate. And so, what I would do every time one would go by is I'd be like, thank you for the contrast so that I'm very clear on what I want. And that was the best I could do. I couldn't say, oh, yay, loud truck. And so I just had to be neutral so that I didn't get in the muck and bring more of that to me.
Yeah, that's really great. And sort of a parallel to this is another way to get in a more positive mindset is to think of like if I have two choices to do on a Saturday afternoon, and one choice brings me sort of, I got to go mow the lawn, or I've got to do something and not feeling that good about it. But this other choice might be, oh, I want to go paint a picture of something and it gives me a feeling of joy, is to go with a feeling of joy and come back and mow the lawn when it feels like it doesn't feel like a horrible chore. And so making your choices as you go throughout your day and time to choose the road that makes you feel better, which is another sort of fun way to change the mind. But it's very hard when, we're so used to being in that ego-based operating system that will have us be going round and round and round about, oh, if they hadn't done this. And I've certainly spent many times and many hamster wheels in my life. And it's really a training to catch your minds before it goes into that kind of thing, I think. But I haven't thought about the contrast to thank the trucks. And that's like, so.
JJ, are you screaming, thank you?
I'm like, I am very clear. Next house, the utmost importance is going to be, is it quiet? Because if it's not quiet, I don't care if everything else about it is perfect. And so I do have to be grateful that I know how important that is to me now. I wish it would change sooner than it has, but I am grateful that I understand that, and that that's a mistake I wouldn't make again. Right.
Well, the other thing is that, well, I've certainly seen this over the years with healing, is that if you heal the part of you that gets triggered, so the part of you that's being triggered about noise, that you're healing that now. It's like, okay, oh well, being observer of it, kind of. Then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're going to be in a quiet house, and you're clear that you're not magnetizing to you the things that will trigger you as much.
Right.
So that kind of personal healing is important. But I agree, Maria. I feel better having done that after a day of this and that and everything. It really does. It's a sort of, I guess, put it this way: it's building. It's creeping up on me by feeling better. It didn't happen right off the bat as soon as I finished, but it's feeling better now.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great daily practice. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to do it before I go to bed. I thank you for that one too. So.
And I think too, just a little thing for people who maybe aren't familiar with this, as JJ said, is that grace, I think, plays a large part in all of this, of allowing yourself, it's some of this stuff is so overwhelming, of the stress or the angst, and just allowing yourself to take a little bit. You don't have to take on the whole thing, and just step by step or moment by moment. Just breaking it down into manageable bites.
And to watch your own thoughts really carefully, so that if you find yourself telling yourself stories that are going to send you down a rabbit hole, to stop yourself and say, whoa, the Byron Katie work, which is so good about, is it true? And how do you know it's true? But you can really do a lot of low vibration thinking. I call that ragtag girl part of myself that loves to live in that low vibration thinking, and to challenge and ask, how do I know that's true? The stories we tell ourselves send us into all sorts of dark places. So. Well, thank you so much for coming to join me in this tonight, everybody here. And I hope those that have listened will come again and listen to the sound healing, particularly. Anything else anybody like to add before we close down? We're all feeling better, lighter, so that's good. Thank you. Thanks so much.